Hi, explorers. I think explorers is gonna work, guys. So let me just start by saying this. I literally started recording the podcast and got 12 minutes deep and then had a mishap. But I'm kind of glad it happened because when I went back and listened to the playback, the volume was low. So you guys would have been yelling if the volume's low. So starting over, I hope the second time's a charm. We're not doing this for a third time. Although I did have a mishap some episodes ago with the under the original podcast where I did have to literally record it like 3 times. But we're gonna hope that this isn't the case, right? Um, really quick housekeeping thing. So I am not going to list out every place that I am. You guys can just go to the bio site, and everything's listed there. It has the PayHip, the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube, other places the podcast is. But if you're listening, that means you already know where I am. So that's pretty dope. And one other thing I want to tell you guys too about listening to the podcast. I know there was like a 4 or 5 month gap between the conversation with my pastor and probably like an update, the first update that I did. But let me tell you guys, I am an analytics girl, but I really hadn't been checking the analytics because I didn't really think anything was going on since I hadn't recorded in full transparency mode. You guys rock because even when I wasn't recording, you guys were still listening. Or somebody was listening, your friends, your enemies, whoever you shared the podcast with. But people were listening, and I just want to say a huge shout out to you guys because even in my inconsistency, you guys have shown up for me in a way that means more to me than you will ever know. And one thing that I will promise to you today, and I'll say it out loud so you guys can definitely hold me to it, is that I will promise to be more consistent in posting something. Whether it's I'm being a tourist in my city, whether it's kind of a travel update, interview with somebody, whatever the case may be, I promise you that I will be more consistent because you guys deserve it. And I want to shout out to my new 2 countries. People from these countries are following me. I got it showed up that Bangladesh and Serbia, I'm sorry. I said it right under the first one. But Serbia are following me. So that's pretty cool. Like I'm getting out in these international streets. There's like 10 other countries, people from 10 other countries that are following me as well. But I just wanted to shout that out, guys. And so I realized that I want to talk about the adventures kind of in the way they happened. So I left Venice and went to Naples. So we'll be talking about Naples in this podcast. And like I told you guys in the last epi, it's not a love letter, it's a cautionary tale. At least for me it was. You can take what I say about it with a grain of salt. As I told you guys last episode, there's a YouTuber that I follow, and she had completely the opposite experience that I have every time I've been to Venice. And I think she talked about it. Her experience in her experience in Venice was quite akin to my experience in Naples, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But like I said, every place ain't for everybody. There are people that I know who have been to, or I've heard people that have been to Venice and they thought it was overrated. And there are other people who absolutely love it. So, you experience travel the way you experience it. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of want the podcast to be about is, changing travel from what you consume to kind of what you experience. Because the experiences are what's going to live with you forever. I told you guys in the last episode, I found my wallet, right? I was able to replace the wallet that I lost. But guess what? Over decades and years of time, the wallet will wear out. You know what I mean? But the experiences, the people that I've met, the people that I still engage with, and hopefully 10, 20 years from now, I'm still talking to those same people, that will stick with you, And again, there's nothing wrong with, buying what you want, because I'm all about a good time. And and we spend money to have a good time, and we pay for the things that we want to. But, I'm kind of one of those, like I said, experiences matter. I think about, in a sense, or just a slight segue, just in a sense of how kind of commercialized a lot of things have become. And I was thinking about just like Christmases, like growing up and in the past, like, but just being around family, is kind of what it's about. Things are nice. I'm not saying things aren't nice. And of course, we don't, who doesn't want that, fabulous XYZ thing that makes, your heart happy under the Christmas tree. But, spending time with your loved ones, um, is kind of what it's all about. So I'm not going to get too sappy on that, guys. But there's one thing I did want to tell you guys, that I realized after the fact that I was going to make an addendum to the podcast. And I was like, nah, we'll just talk about it briefly in the next episode. So my last night in Venice, right? So I told you guys I could look out of my window and I could see, there's a restaurant right there, 2 doors over was a gelato shop. Um, so both of those places saw me quite a few times in my 2 weeks in Venice. So I go to the gelato shop first, then I get my little gelato and I'm, getting ready to pay the gentleman. So when I first get to, let's start over. So when I first get to Venice, I go to the gelato shop. Um, and start talking to the guy, and the guy's like, hey, so how long are you here? Like a week? And I'm like, no, I'm here for 2 weeks, actually. I don't leave Sunday. I mean, I don't leave Sunday. I leave the next Sunday. And he was like, oh, cool. So, I go in there. Like I said, this is the one that was nearest my hotel. So I pretty much had a gelato at night. That was when I usually ate my gelato. It was like after dinner. So that was the place I always kind of stopped. So he saw me just about every day. So I go in on Saturday, as I did every other day, to get my gelato. And so as I'm reaching in my bag to like pay him, he's like, no, this is on me. It's your last night here, right? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, do you know how many people this man probably saw every day? It's who remembered that I was leave, like that Saturday was my last day in Venice. It was pretty cool. So I go to the restaurant that I could see from my window and go in there, order my dish, sitting outside because I just want to take in like the last wee bit of atmosphere from, Venice. And so they pour me a glass of wine. I typically don't get wine. I always get like the fizzy water and, whatever. They pour me a glass of wine. And they bring me out a dessert. And I'm like, I'm not really tripping. The prices are decent. I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're just being really, nice because it's my last day or something. But they always treated me really, really good. Oh, I'm sorry. When I came in, the owner was like, oh, here's our VIP. So I'm just like, oh my God, like they're being, overly dramatic or whatever. Um, so I finish up everything and I'm like, okay, my ticket. And the owner comes out and he says, no, madam, this is on us. He's like, thank you for being a good patron to us. Anytime you're here, you're our guest, like blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was really, really nice. And so that's why I was really surprised, when the lady said, that she did not have a good experience in Venice. It's funny because I told you guys I met a lot of Americans on this trip. So as I'm sitting outside, there's a little younger couple that comes and sits, and they're with their family. They're like their parents or something like that, because there's some older people with them as well. But they had went to Milan and said not pleasant experience in Milan, but they were having a really good time in Venice. They were like, the people are really nice, like this, that, and the third. So again, I was really surprised by the lady saying that like Venice wasn't her cup of tea or cup of cappuccino. But I don't judge people's travel experience. I mean, what you experience is definitely real to you and for you. So it isn't for me to say like that's not true or to like argue her down, because I've had a different experience. That was her experience. Much like when I tell you about my Naples experience. And the funny thing is, like when she posted that, a lot of Italians like jumped in her comment section on YouTube and was like, no, 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 like blah, 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 blah. But then there were also other people who were like, no, I've had kind of a similar experience in, XYZ city. Not necessarily, in Venice, but other places. And so I will say this, I have heard, I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard somebody liken like the southern part of Italy to like the south in the United States, if that tells you anything. And I don't know. That was my first time really having the sort of experience that I had traveling abroad. I've had that happen, not to that degree, but I've experienced racism like in the United States where I live, but I've never experienced anything like I experienced in Naples. Again, I've been in Thailand. Like I've had people kind of stare and look, but never be rude and never be disrespectful, and never just the amount of disrespect that I suffered in Naples. And as I'm talking about it, I really do need to write their municipality and tell them about that, because tourism is big dollars, and every city, large or small, depends on tourism dollars. And when the word gets out that your city, your community, your whatever isn't welcoming of a certain group of people, that changes things. Like I said, I used to be a tourism director, and that's one of the things I used to tell my folks when I used to go around, talk to my hoteliers and businesses. Like, people don't, you have to have like an award-winning experience to like post a good review, but people will always post a bad review, right? They'll always go tell you about the messed up stuff that happened. They may or may not tell you, as I'm talking about it, they may or may not tell you like they treated you like a VIP, but they'll tell you when stuff goes wrong. So, and I think I'm going to segue and talk about the lady who posted the thing just right quick, and then I'll get to my story. And I thought it was really interesting. So I hope the Italians who were posting stuff actually read the comments too, because these are people saying, no, I had the same experience in XYZ city. Like, people didn't have the same experience in Venice, but people had the similar experience in Milan. I posted I had a similar experience in Naples. Somebody said they had a similar experience in Rome. Somebody said they had a similar experience in Sicily. So people aren't making this up. Like, our lived experiences are very real, right? They're very, very real. So, off my soapbox, guys. Let's get back to brass tacks. So, we're not going to dwell on the fluffy pancake, but if you're in Venice, please go to the fluffy pancake. I will Google the name of the restaurant that I ate at, that they treated me like the VIP, and I'll post it in the show notes. Again, if you're in Italy, if you're in Venice, you should probably stop by. The food was delicious. Actually, I think I might have posted a couple of pictures from that place. So, go to the fluffy pancake, hop the Vaporetto to get to the train station, buy my ticket. It's a 5-hour ride from Venice to Naples. Not bad. And you're rolling through the Italian countryside, right? So, like, rocking out to my playlist that I usually listen to when I'm driving, riding around in Houston, hits a little bit differently when you're rolling through the Italian countryside. And it was really nice. Really, really nice. But boys and girls, here's what I'll say. It's really important to like kind of listen to your gut on certain things. So when I get to Naples and I get off the train station, I walk outside. I don't know. I just had this kind of ominous feeling, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it here. I have no idea why. I've never felt like that about any place that I've ever visited. Yeah, I'm an international girl, and I love being abroad, anywhere, wherever. Thailand wasn't on my list, and when I got there, I didn't feel the same way. Again, I told you guys, when I got to Venice, it got out of the airport and kind of seeing the city again, I was like, yeah, all is right with the world. So I don't know how I get there. It feel like all ain't right with the world when I got here. Or when I got to Naples, but that's how I felt. And in hindsight, I was just like, that was like a premonition, right? But I tried to dismiss it, and I was kind of like, well, maybe that's just how I'm feeling, because I got up early. I've been sitting on the train for 5 hours. I didn't sleep well the night before. Remember, guys, I got up early so I could leave early, so I could get into the city at a decent time, because like I said, I like to kind of sleep and catch up on things. And even though I'm still in Italy and it's still the same kind of time zone, I still just, like I said, I've been moving around a lot, kind of hanging out in the Venetian streets a little bit later that Saturday than I should have, knowing that I needed to, get up and I was going to be rocking and rolling, but it's fine, right? So I check into my B&B. The lady's very nice. Her and her husband own it and run it. And she's kind of telling me like where to eat, and there's a restaurant around the corner she recommended. And of course, me being the kind of goober that I am, I didn't take her advice on that. So I go to my room, I take a nap, and I get up. It's probably about 7-8 o'clock at night. It's dark, but I'm in the central business district of Naples. And so I just kind of walk down the street. Like, it's still, it's all well lit. So there's a little restaurant that's probably a 2 to 3 minute walk handsome man that's beckoning people to come inside. This is what I get for being distracted by a handsome Italian with blue eyes, guys. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about that later, though. That might be a Cat Explorers After Dark. So I look in the restaurant. There's like 3 tables with people, not big crowds, anything like that. And so I'm like, okay, I'll probably, it's a good place to sit, eat. It'll be quick service, because there's not a lot of people. Y'all. So they sit me down, they give me a menu, and then I'm just kind of sitting there. And had I been home, I definitely probably would have got up and left, right? But I think because I was so tired, it was so close to where I was and everything, I was just like, just let me get something to eat, give me something to go, and it'll be fine. Again, I'm a tourist, right? I'm like people like money, so I raise my hand. They finally come and say, come and take my order, and I order me some food to go because I'm like, I'll probably sleep in or something. So I ordered me like my caprese salad. I was like, I'll eat that for breakfast, like whatever. Y'all, no, I didn't order caprese salad. I ordered something else. Y'all, so I got the fruity del mar dish, which is the under the sea. The pasta was so gummy, it was so undercooked, just not good at all. And so here's the funny thing, like as I'm there, I leave a review about the service, and the owner, like leaves a review back, and it's a really nasty review, right? He was like, you just wanted to be treated like a princess. And I'm like, what? No, I didn't want to get treated like a princess. You had 3 tables in there. I shouldn't have been waiting 20 minutes to get served. Like I said, if I were home, I would have just left. But I was really tired, right? So they bring me my to-go dish, and it's wrong. And I told the waiter it's wrong. And he starts to yell at me and argue with me and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, go get your menu. And so he brings me the menu, and I show him what I ordered, and I show him what they gave me. And I'm like, that's not what I ordered. So at this point, he just gets really mad, and he tells me to shut the F up and this, that, and the third, and no. And so at this point, guys, they take the food back, but then they like somehow they bring me something else. Like I'm kind of fuzzy, I can't remember everything, but they bring me something else, but they still never bring me the ticket. So I get up, and I'm just like, well, hell, y'all most don't want to get paid, so you ain't brought me the ticket because I was clearly gonna pay for my food, even though you just talked to me like crap. So I get up and I'm gonna leave, right? So the owner comes out. And the guy with the blue eyes starts to talk to me. He's like, what's wrong? And at this point, I'm crying because I'm upset, right? Because I've never had anybody talk to me that way. Like, I'm a guest. I'm a guest in your restaurant. I'm a guest in your town, and this is how you talk to me? This is bonkers, right? So the guy's like hugging me. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Signora. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. Like, it wasn't you. So then the owner comes out. Now, again, when they mess up your food, like in the States, they'll like comp your food or something. They still wanted me to pay for everything. So I threw the to-go food on the floor, and I kicked it. And I was like, I'm not paying for this. I'm not paying for anything. Like, you could take this off. But then, guys, I heard him say something. He picked up his phone, and he's like, something like policia. Listen, man, I know what police is in any language. And I'm like, nah, you ain't finna call the police on me, bruh. So I pay for the food because I'm like, I can't go to jail in Italy. My mama ain't gonna even know what to do. I ain't been to jail in the States. Like, what? Like, how you go halfway across the world and get arrested? This don't even make no sense. So at this point, I'm just like seriously upset, and I'm just like, I start to cry again because I cry when I'm getting mad, right? So the guy comes back over, he gives me a hug, he like gives me his phone number. Of course, I mean, right? You knew where this was gonna go, but he gives me his phone number. He tells me to call him, like blah blah blah, and I like walk back to my bed and breakfast. And so when I get in there, the lady can tell that I'm upset. She can tell that I'm upset, that I've been crying. And she's like, what's wrong? And she speaks a decent amount of English. But of course, guys, I always have my handy translator with me. And because I knew the details of the story were just so complex and complicated, I was like putting it in a translator for her to hear it. And she was like, oh my gosh, she's like, I'm so sorry, she was like, the problem is, and she's like, in no way, like, whatever. But of course, she's trying to protect her tourism brand because, like, she wants her bed and breakfast to be full, right? That's how she makes her money. I ain't mad at her. But she was really nice though. Um, so she's like, well, the problem is, we've had all these, Italy's had all these African refugees come in. It's kind of the same thing that people, claim that's going on in the States. Like the Hispanics are, the undocumented folks are coming in and taking jobs, whatever type of stuff. Again, not trying to get into a whole political thing. I'm just telling you what the lady is saying. So she's like, they've had all these African immigrants come in, and people are just really, the Italians are really just hostile to people who look like them. And I'm like, yikes, oh mikes. So at this point, I'm still just like, whatever. And I was like, all right, whatever. I go to my room, get some sleep. I get up the next morning, and it's raining. It rained like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Sunday through Tuesday. So it was fine. I really kind of, just kind of walked around the central business district to get something to eat. Anyway, I get up Monday morning, and the lady is talking to a friend of hers is there, so they're talking, and when the lady sees me, she starts to tell the lady what happened. The lady's like, hey, did you have a good night's sleep? And I was like, yeah, it was good. Guys, I think, do I have a picture of the room? I don't know, but I think I have a video on my YouTube, not my YouTube, I think I have a video on my Facebook page from inside the room, and it was beautiful. I usually take pictures of the room, so I can't imagine why I wouldn't have a picture. I'm sorry, I'm just talking through my thoughts, guys. Because I was gonna show you guys the room because it was really nice. But anyway, so the lady's like telling her friend what happened, and her friend's like, oh my god, like you could just see the look of horror on her face. And so she starts to apologize to me. And then she's like, oh, I wouldn't have paid. She's like, did you pay? And I was like, yeah, because the guy threatened to call the police on me. Like, dude, I don't have time to get arrested abroad. Like, that just seems silly. Again, a person like me, nah, I can't do it. Like, she could probably get away with not paying, but he threatened to call the cops on me. So I was like, nah, this ain't the way I'm going. And so the lady's like, the owner, she's like, oh, I gotta do something with my friend right quick. I'll be back in probably 30 minutes to an hour. She's like, do you want to wait and I can take you around the city? And I'm like, no ma'am, like that's not your job. Like, I appreciate you, but that's clearly not your job. And so, like I said, this was Monday. Monday was a rainy day and Tuesday was a rainy day, so I didn't do too much. Just kind of wandered around the central business district. I found a place to get a haircut because my hair was looking not a mess, but I definitely need a haircut. I was actually going to get my haircut when I got to Cairo because I asked the young man to take me to his barber when I got there, but I actually found a really nice place and got a $10 haircut, and it was like the best haircut I've ever had in my whole entire life. I wish I could have just packed that guy up in my suitcase and brought him around with me because he cut my hair so good. I think he was an Arab guy, but he cut my hair so good. Like, it was just the best haircut I ever had. So anyway, I spent Monday just kind of roaming around. And the lady told me she told me to go to the place around the corner where she told me to go the night before. And so that's where I ended up eating dinner, which was a great place. I told the guy what happened. He was horrified. But it was just a really good, like a really just good place. And they, appreciated a girl. I actually need to go leave a review for them and tell them how great they were. But he was just really disgusted that was my experience there. And could not believe it because, again, most people understand tourism and tourism dollars. I'm sure so many people, in so many companies, I tell my mother this all the time, that I'm surprised about the companies that made it through COVID, because when everything shut down, like, what were you supposed to do? So the fact that people were still, whatever type of company you have, especially a people-facing company, but if you were able to figure out how to stay in business during that time, God bless you, for real. So yeah, Monday, just kind of roamed around. Went to the place. Their food was way better, a little bit cheaper, like everything. Plus, the guy was just so happy to see me. And I told him who told me to come there, so then they gave me a discount based on how they feel about the lady. So that was cool. Tuesday, kind of the same thing. Rolled around. Um, just kind of, like I said, it rained so much. Just kind of walked around in my area, but it's still just kind of disgusted by just everything that was going on. So I hadn't, decided where I was gonna try to go, because the whole reason I was in Naples, guys, was to go to Pompeii. Um, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not. I don't think I mentioned it. I've told the story to a few people as well. I'm getting kind of confused, but I learned about Pompeii through my dad. And so this trip was kind of about both of us. And even though he's not here with us, um, I still travel. I travel for myself, but I travel in a sense for him too. Like, he would have loved, loved, loved this trip. Um, yeah, he would have been tripped out that I went to Pompeii. So part of the reason I was even in Naples was to go to Pompeii, because I was actually going to stay in Pompeii for a couple of days, and I was going to go to Naples. But a friend of mine who was stationed in Naples was like, Pompeii's like 30 minutes away. You can catch the train. So I was like, cool, then I'll just stay in Naples. Because I'd actually seen a travel log on Naples, and it was like Naples looked kind of interesting. And I was like, yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. It might be, but I really didn't go, because of the rain and just my experience there. I really didn't do too much. But Pompeii was awesome. And so that was Wednesday, the one good day of no rain. So it actually timed it kind of perfectly. They said it was still supposed to rain that Wednesday, but it was like the day of the least amount of rain. So I was like, okay, Wednesday, I'm going to get up and go. And actually, it was a beautiful day. If you, did I post pictures? I can't remember, y'all. But when I post the pictures and you see them, you can see that it was a gorgeous day. And Pompeii is amazing. It's funny because I think I said this in another thing, but one of my friends, and she's going to Pompeii and Herculean, I think this month or next month or something. Well, October's already over, about to be over, but she's going back. And so even when I posted my pictures on my Facebook page, she went like when she was 20 years old, and she's now not 20, but she was like, when she went, she's like, wow, there's more things that they have discovered since I was there. And what I learned during the tour was that only 75% of Pompeii has been excavated, which is insane. But it was just like super incredible, and much like I told you guys when I was watching the travel log about Egypt, was that, like, this is history, man. These things were like thousands of years old. Like, this volcano erupted in 79 AD, and you're walking the streets that these people from 79 AD walked, right? And you're seeing like their houses and the frescoes and even the casters of the bodies, and there's a point where I'm walking on the little cobblestone road, and I turn back around, and Vesuvius is behind me, and I just look back, and it's like a pristine view, and I take a picture of it, and one of the guys on the tour with me was like, right, like, you can see why people didn't leave. I'm like, yeah, you can kind of see why people didn't leave this place, or because they say Vesuvius had erupted a few other times, but people just stayed there. So I'm imagining that as it started to erupt again, people are like, it's just Vesuvius doing what Vesuvius does, and this time it was like super kind of crazy. So anyway, I realized I just skipped over the whole like catching the train to Vesuvius and like seeing all of the stuff, and catching the train to Pompeii, and seeing all, like, again, rolling between Naples and Pompeii, and kind of when Vesuvius pops up, I'm like, holy smokes, that's Vesuvius. So it's that kind of thing, guys. Like, this whole trip was just like that kind of thing. It's like, wow, this is kind of historic. It's kind of like, on a more somber note, like when I finally went, and a lifelong Texan, Houstonian, but when I finally go up to Dallas and I see where the Kennedy assassination happened and all that stuff, and it's like, wow, like that was right here, and in that whole little area. If you haven't been, guys, that whole little area still looks like it looked when the assassination happened. I think that's in part of their the facades. I think that's probably part of their little rental agreements with the folks, is that the facade has to look like that. So it's really crazy. we weren't able to get into the book suppository tour because the book depository tour because you had to buy your tickets ahead of time, and so they were already, I think, sold out for the day. But it was just still really crazy to see it. And I think the thing for me is, like, in your head you think it's this big, like, wide open space. It is not. It's very small. Like, it's a very small little area. You see, like, the grassy knoll over there. You see the book depository over there. You see the little X's on the ground. And you're like, wow. And then, like, it's insane. But like that, like, it's just a mark of history. And if, you know, you're kind of a history person, you can appreciate, like, history. And so, again, that's what this whole thing's kind of like. You know, these tours were kind of like, this trip was kind of like, it's just appreciating history, man. Like, it was really nice to, you know, like I said, see the stuff. And it was just crazy. Like, when we first, like, you kind of walk in, you kind of see, like, the overview of it, and it's still pretty amazing. But then when you really get into, like, where the people lived, and, like, what was a restaurant, and what was this and what was that, or you see, like, the house with the frescoes. I wish I would have seen the house. I think they just discovered a house that has, like, the Pompeii blue color that they're trying to revive. I've seen it online. It's really pretty. But I saw the one that everybody probably always sees with the little, like, the pool on the inside and all the frescoes and all the, like, little penis things, the penis paintings and sculptures and stuff like that. But it was just really, really amazing. And it made me miss my dad a little bit more, because I would have loved to have shared the pictures with him, like, once I got back into town, as I always did with him. But one thing that I did do, and I really had to make it a point to do, my brother and I had always said that when we travel, we were going to spread our dad's ashes around. And I took a few trips, and I'd always gotten really, I just forgot to grab some of the ashes and bring them with me. But I really made a concerted effort to bring ashes with him. So I spread some of his ashes in Venice, of course, my favorite place. And then at Pompeii. Because like I said, I wouldn't know about Pompeii if it wasn't for him. And it was a very moving moment. I hope I can get through this without crying. I should be able to. But if I start to tear up, I'll pause it and then I'll come back to you guys. But like, it's so much so that so when I found this place, so as I'm going through the tour, like, I'm thinking about, like, where do I want to, you know, spread dash ashes. And so I find this place, look at this church, the ruins of, like, this church, and it's like these beautiful pillars, and it was just pretty amazing place. So that was the place that I chose to, like, spread his ashes in. It was crazy because when I spread his ashes, then a cool breeze, like, came by, and then I just, you know, I lost it. I'm a baby, right? And so I messaged one of my friends, and I tell her about it. You know, I'm just like, you know, I'm just overwhelmed. It's just crazy, like, yada yada yada. And so of course she comes back and she's like, yo, that was your dad, that breeze was your dad. And I just think that's a really cool experience, and, you know, what a wonderful thing to do for him, and blah 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 blah. And it was like, it was a really great experience. And like I told you guys, even though, you know, the getting on the train and getting to Pompeii was all, you know, relatively easy. I mean, they tell you in their signage and all that kind of stuff. Again, when I got to the stop that said Pompeii, I was like, yes, I'm finally here, and I get to do this thing. And at first I was going to experience without a guide, but then I paid for a guide, which was definitely worth it. And so I got to experience this stuff with this group. And it was really, really nice. Like, it was a good time. So I spent most of Wednesday in Pompeii. Right. And so if you're ever in, I don't know how you go to Naples. I mean, I don't know how you go to Pompeii without going to Naples, unless you just stay in Pompeii, I guess, or whatever. But Pompeii is definitely a place worth checking out. Like I said, I just remember at some points, like, just thinking, like, people from 79 AD walked these streets, and how historical it was. And just, I don't know. I can't even put it into words, as you hear. Like, these pauses aren't fake. Like, I'm really trying to think of the words to say, and it's like something I just cannot describe. And if you know me in real life, I'm usually never at a loss for words, but to really explain it or really get into words, I can't. Like, it's just something I can't do. So Thursday was another day that was supposed to be pretty kind of not as rainy. And I think probably Tuesday, the lady came to my room with a map and she kind of showed me some places I might want to go. So still hadn't quite decided like what I was gonna make out of Naples from that one experience, but I decided, you know what, I've been going to the restaurant. Those people have been great. The owner of the B&B had been great. So I was like, you know what? Let's try to give it another day. Let's try to give it another time, right? So I get up on Thursday, and my plan was to go to Castle Nuovo. That was my plan. So I get up, I figure out which bus to take to get me over there, and all of that, right? So I get over there, and I guess I got off at the wrong stop, right? But it let me off where all the water is. If you guys are familiar with where Castle Nuovo is, it kind of overlooks I can't think of the other city that's right there. Like when you visit Naples, you're supposed to visit, but you see that. You see like the little cliffs and all that kind of stuff. Capri, is it Capri, y'all? I don't know. But anyway, so you see all of that. And so I'm more mesmerized by the water. So, and then it starts to rain. So I do walk around. I do walk a little bit, and then there's a marina, so I take a couple. I love marinas. I love the water, so of course I love marinas. But I take a couple pictures. There's, just kind of walking around the town. I like the way kind of Naples is constructed. So there's some really like great shots that I took of like various buildings and stuff like that. Because I thought I was like, oh, I could walk this way and walk to the castle, but I didn't. I walked for like 15 minutes and didn't find the castle. I saw it, but it's kind of like the way the streets were looking. I think I would have to go another maybe 15 minutes or something, and then it started to rain. So I was like, I'm over the rain. So I ended up, as I'm walking trying to find the castle, there's a restaurant, or there's a gelato shop. Yay, gelato. And I hadn't had gelato since I was in Venice. So I told my mom, I'm like, oh, there's a gelato shop, so I'm gonna sit there, have me a gelato while I try to wait out the rain. Because my whole thing was I was gonna do that, and then I was gonna go back and sit and sit by the water for a little bit, because the water calms me. That's one of the things I've realized over my years of living, is that I'm calmest by the water. So as long as I'm by the water, we're good. So I get the gelato. Gelato's great. I'm sitting, so I walk back. The rain kind of clears up. There's a cute little couple. They're singing music. I think I have a video of that. I haven't posted it. I should post it. Just nice. So I'm like, okay, I throw them, a few euros, like whatever, brava, all that kind of stuff. So I go and I sit, right? Oh, I'm sorry. This part is integral to the story. I buy a ticket, to catch the bus. What I didn't realize, and this point will be relevant to the other part of the story, but what I don't realize, it's a day pass, right? So I'm sitting by the water for a few hours. And then I'm like, oh, it's starting to get dark. I need to get back to my B&B. But I got to buy a bus ticket. And so I go find where I buy a bus ticket. So I get on the bus. Now, somebody's standing in front of the little ticket reader thingamabob. So I don't, I don't know where I'm supposed to read my ticket. Nobody, and everybody else is getting on the bus, and they're not, like, scanning their ticket. So I think I'm cool. Probably 3 stops from where I need to get off, the fare inspector gets on the bus. He checks a few people's tickets. Then he checks mine. He checks this African girl's ticket. She didn't scan hers, and I didn't scan mine, right? So he pulls us off the bus, ironically, right where I need to get off the bus. He's telling me I gotta pay 50 euros or I'm going to jail. So I'm like, this has got to be a shakedown. Like, I feel like I'm being extorted, right? This feels like a shakedown. This feels crazy. But then you take the 2 people off the bus who look alike. Now, some of these people that he looked at their ticket, they didn't scan it either, because I saw them when they got on the bus. But he didn't, like, take them off the bus. He takes me off the bus. He takes the other girl off the bus who looks like me, who looks like she could be my sister. So she gives him like her ID or something, and she walks away. So I'm still standing there trying to plead my case. I'm like, I'm not from here. I'm asking for grace, something. And I'm like, look, my B&B is right there. It's like, walk back with me. You could talk to the lady, like this, that, and the third. And he's like, no, let me tell you something. My boss is right there. And either you pay me 50 euros or we could walk over to my boss and he could throw you in jail. I'm like, why is everybody trying to arrest me in this city? And so then he says, you know what? There's people like you that are the problem. And I was like, what? This is so crazy. So I called my lady, because she told me, like, if I'm ever in trouble or if I ever need her, like, to call her. So I call her and I'm like, please come help me. I'm standing, like, da 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 da, and I just need your help. Like, I really need your help. I was like, they're trying to take me to jail. And for some reason, and I'm like right by her, so she misses me some kind of way. But anyway, so I'm like, no, I'm trying to explain to the guy, like, I just bought this ticket. I bought a ticket earlier to come out here, and then I bought a ticket to come back, and somebody was standing in front of the reader. I wasn't able to scan my ticket. And so listen, y'all, if you hear like the anxiousness in my voice, this is like I'm reliving this all over again. So thank goodness, y'all, I didn't throw my ticket away. So I'm looking through my crossbody and I'm trying to find my ticket so I can at least show him, like, look, here's my. And I'm outside with this guy for like 30 minutes, y'all. And I'm like, my B&B is like right here. Like, if you just walk right here, she can explain this to you and like blah, blah, blah. Right? And so I'm looking through everything and I'm like, no, here's my ticket that I bought earlier. See? Y'all, they sold me a day ticket. And the dude was like, oh, well, this is all you needed to tell me. And I'm like, but you didn't ask me nothing. You just assumed that because I was black that I'd stolen fare. Like, I hopped a ride on the bus and you wanted to throw me in jail. That like you were trying to shake me down. Like, either I pay the 50 euro or I go to jail. Like, that was the options you gave me. You didn't ask me like what happened to me all day. So then, y'all, he wanted to get really, really nice, and he was like, do you still want me to come and talk to the B&B owner? I'm like, yes. So I don't know. She was walking around. She couldn't find me. And I was like probably not 3 feet from her, because she would have saw me. But I was like really right where she was. She didn't understand the English translation. You know, like I said, she didn't speak a lot of English. So she was looking for me. Anyway, as we're walking back to the B&B, she sees us. And so she starts to tell the dude, like, her husband comes down. Her husband's outside too, because he's looking for me too. So her husband's downstairs looking for me, and she's walking around the little area, like, looking for me too. So as she's walking back to the B&B, like, we all kind of meet up. So she starts to tell the guy what my experience was that Sunday. She's like, I heard her say turista, like all this and that. Again, my Italian ain't the best, but I know what turista is. So she's telling the dude like what happened, and she was like, this has been her whole experience. And so the dude is like, oh, like, he gives me a hug and he's like, oh, like, we're lost in translation type of stuff. I'm like, no, it wasn't lost in translation, homie. You say it with pitch perfect English. Like, it's people like you that are the problem. So y'all, child. So at this point, I'm laughing because it's all over. The dude's like, oh yeah, she had like, and I said, but he never asked me, like how I got out there or whatever. We could have solved this problem like a long time ago. Like, I had a day pass. I didn't even know they sold me a day pass because they didn't tell me that. They didn't tell me it was a day pass. I just said I needed a ticket to go here, and this is what they gave me. And maybe that's what they typically do, is they give you a day pass. And I was like, great, thank God they gave me a day pass because I didn't go to jail that day. But Jesus. So guys, here's a tip. Always keep your ticket with you. And maybe, just maybe, always ask for a day pass if you're like rolling around, right? Just get you a day pass. Get you an all day pass. Like when I took the Vaporetto in Venice, no, they will sell you like a one-way pass or whatever, but you could also get a day pass. And so, day passes are always cheaper, right? Anyway, and you can ride on them all day, or like a 3-day pass or whatever. You ride them for 3 days. So that's probably always going to be your best bet, like getting around, is to get you like a day pass. But don't toss it away either, right? Like, keep it. That would be my little tip for you guys. I'm sorry, y'all. I've been talking so much. My throat's dry. I'll cut out the spaces though. So yeah, so that's that. But I'm laughing because I then had to call my mother and tell her yet again. So, wait, let me pause. Let me back up. So while I'm sitting out at the water, I see that they have like the hop on, hop off, and I've told you guys I love the hop on, hop off. It's a good way to see the city. So my original thought was going to be This was Thursday. I was like, Friday and Saturday, I'll take the hop on, hop off. Because, typically you get 2 days out of them. So I was like, I'll do the hop on, hop off on on Friday. And then I'll do it again on Saturday. But I'll probably actually get off at some stops and see some stuff or whatever. That was my plan, had everything gone right. Since I almost got arrested yet a second time, since I was threatened with arrest a second time, my poor mother was like, please don't leave your room just to get something to eat. The little place was right around the corner. I swear I ate at that place every day, y'all. And the people were happy to see me. Like, every time I came, they were like, Katrina, blah, blah, blah. So that was all great. But yeah, my mom was like, please don't leave, like, your room. And to be quite honest with you guys, if I could have gotten out of Naples like Friday, I would have got out of Naples Friday. By that, at that point, I was completely over it. Yeah, I didn't care. Like, I was like, I don't like this place. I'm ready to go. But I was paid up through Sunday. My flight didn't leave until Sunday. So a girl just had to tough it out. But it was, not the best experience I ever had. So I literally probably stayed where I was just probably, in that little walking distance to where I was. Let me tell y'all how badly I was treated at that first restaurant. I got better service at the McDonald's than I got at that restaurant. And so yeah, I just kind of walked around my area again. That's how I found the barber shop. There's a couple of street markets that I found. So got some really cool shades, got some jewelry. If you know me, I love jewelry. But I just really didn't venture too far because it just wasn't that kind of vibe. I just, hell, third times would have been a charm. I would have got locked up the third time. So I just wasn't going to take that. So but like I said, I told mom what happened, and she said, well, please thank that lady, and I told her. It's funny because the lady was she was going on a trip too. So I was there with her husband. Her husband was gonna be left behind like the last couple of days. So, but she was leaving and she was packing up some stuff, and she had some scarves, and she said, "Pick a scarf." And so I picked the scarf. I picked the purple one because it's my mom's favorite color. But I had told her that my mom said thank you, and she said, "Oh no," she's like, "I have children, and I would want somebody to do the same thing for my children if they were somewhere." And she was just very, very nice. I will leave, again, y'all, I'll leave the name of all the places that treated me well. I'll leave the name of them in the show notes. Yeah, it was just really a different experience for me. So I think on that lady's list, she said she liked Naples, and I would dare to argue with her. Like I said, she said Venice was unkind to her. Venice ain't never been unkind to me. Naples was, if I don't ever go, here's what I jokingly tell my friends. Like, it's a joke, but it ain't a joke. Like, the city of Naples would have to pay for me to come back to Naples. That's how serious I am about that. Like, I would never darken Naples doors again. And it's funny because Blue Eyes and I still talk. And we actually went out. He took me out to dinner Wednesday night. And we had a good time. We had a good time at dinner. It was all nice and everything. But, in our conversations, he's like, come back to Naples. And I'm like, never. Like, you should fly to the States, because I'm never coming back to Naples ever. Like I said, I don't quite know how you get to Pompeii and Herculean without Naples, but I'll go stay somewhere else. I'll stay in Pompeii before I stay in Naples. That's just my little cautionary tale, guys. Oh my god, y'all, I was hoping I would not be talking to y'all for this long, but again, my app is telling me we're at the 48-minute mark. And so that's basically the end of the story, guys. I leave, my flight's an early morning flight. Again, I don't know why I do it to myself. To get into Cairo, I think I had to be at the no, my flight was like at was my flight at 7? Yes, my flight was at 7, and then I had a layover in Greece, which was great because they had gelato in Greece in the little food court. So of course your girl got some gelato. But that's for next episode to tell you about Cairo. That's just to get us into that part. So guys, with that, my friends, I'm gonna let y'all go. I was gonna start this thing off by telling y'all I hope I don't talk to y'all for the same length of time, but it looks like I did. So oh yeah, guys, wait, before I go, we do have a challenge this week or this episode. And not because, well, I kind of wanted to put one in there because I told you guys last week or last episode that we were going to start doing challenges, but because this was like a cautionary tale and not a love letter, I was like, we should do something fun because this wasn't, again, you can hear the anxiety in my voice as I start to tell you guys the story, and even reliving it still wasn't kind of fun. Um, so one of the things that, again, I like to talk about experiences and experiencing things on your trip. There's a 5 sense rule, right? It's about what makes a trip for you, using your 5 senses. One thing that you see, one thing that you touch, one thing that you smell, one thing that you hear, and one thing that you either feel or wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hear, touch, smell, and feel. Anyway, y'all know what I mean. It's 5 of them. Okay, y'all, my bad. The 5th one is taste. I'm such a dork. So it's one thing that you see, touch, smell, hear, and taste. Listen, y'all know I leave my bloopers in, right? Cause this is natural. Like, I'm not a manufactured person. This is real life, right? I scribbled down my notes too fast and I didn't put the other part in there. But anyway, my friends, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna our challenge today is, as you guys go out in the world, and whether you're traveling or you're being a tourist in your city or you just out and about, why don't you tag me? Why don't you take a picture of something that is the one thing that you see, the one thing that's beautiful, ugly, the rain clouds. I'm a clouds person, so if the sky is really dark, I like to take a picture of that. But you take one thing that you see, give me a good caption about it. You can tag me in it. I'm at Where Cat Walks on Instagram. Or you could use the hashtag my one thing. And I will search them and I will put together a collage of like what Instagram lets you do, the top 20. So maybe they'll let you do 20 pictures in a carousel. So maybe I'll do the top 10 that we see, right? The top 10 that I like. Or if there's only 10, then we'll do 10 and maybe we'll ask people to vote on them. I don't know. And then you get bragging rights the next episode. We'll figure out a prize to get you guys. But because this was such a heavy episode, like filled with a lot of kind of unpleasant things that I don't like to talk about a lot of times. I mean, I talk about them in other aspects of my life, but I don't like to talk about them in terms of travel and with a broader range of people. But real is real, man. This is my lived experience, and these are the things that I experienced. Unfortunately, while I was out in Naples, just trying to, have a good time and enjoy myself. But sometimes ugly things happen, and they rear their ugly head. And sometimes we have to talk about them. Like I said, the lady on her YouTube channel kind of said the same thing. She's like, listen, I have great experiences everywhere. But when things aren't good, they aren't good. And I'm not going to run from it. And so, it wasn't good. And it was kind of the interesting thing was that as I was like, because I went live one day on my Facebook page and I told my folks about it, my people on my page, and people were really like aghast and they were horrified that like I had these experiences, because again, most of the people on my pages are people who know me in real life, and so they just, to hear that somebody went halfway across the world, spent their hard-earned money to have this experience, that ain't the experience that I want. Remember, we started off this thing by talking about, we're trying to get experiences, but that ain't the experience. I could have got that experience without leaving my house. So anyway, guys, I'm sorry. But Cairo and Egypt will be much, 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 much better. Cairo's another place that just when I'll say this and then we'll wrap. But Cairo's another place that when I got there, it felt like home. It felt really good. The people were very nice. Just even walking through the airport, everybody's welcome to Egypt, welcome to Egypt, welcome to Egypt. This is your first time in Egypt? Oh, welcome. You're going to love it. So they definitely have a lot of pride in their country. I could tell that right off the bat. That was really nice. But with that, guys, don't forget about our challenge, right? We're going to use the We're going to use one of the 5 sense rules, and it's the thing that you see. Again, tag me at Where Cat Walks. Use the hashtag my one thing. Spell it out, please. Spell one out, ONE, not the number. But even if you do, I'll look under both of them. And with that, boys and girls, remember, wherever you are, if you're in your city or somewhere else, always pretend that you are the main character. And I'll see you next time on Cat Explores.